think it's fantastic.
And also scary at the same time.
Yes.
Spending to save.
Spending to save.
Spading.
That's like an oxymoron. Spending to save.
Uh-huh.
Is that like girl math?
We don't like being put in a box of the things we enjoy. And so when you say the word budgeting, it's like, ugh, no. Really what this is allowing you to do the things you love just within moderation and within your means.
Welcome to the Mental Health Janitors, where we help you clean up the mess in your head. I'm your host, Sgt Q, and with me as always, Doc Jess.
Welcome.
All right, episode 21, guys. We have a great episode for you. We're going to be talking about new techniques, and this is kind of an old throwback to an old technique. We're going to be talking about transcranial magnetic stimulation. Okay, say that with me.
Transcranial magnetic stimulation.
And if you don't know what that is, it's okay. It seems super creepy, and it actually kind of is. We're going to tell you a little bit.
And we're going to call it TMS.
Yes.
While on today.
Yeah. TMS will mean that big long sentence we just told you guys. So be prepared for that. We're going to share with you what that is and how you can get involved in it. We're also going to talk about current events, which is holiday spending or overspending that causes a tremendous amount of stress. So with Black Friday that just happened and heading into this holiday season, a lot of people find themselves overspending, especially in American culture. It's the keeping up with the Joneses. I feel obligated to buy all these things, go to all these things, spend all this money. And then there's a lot of buyer remorse that happens. So we're going to talk about tools for your toolbox, which is going to be financial budgeting. So we're actually going to go through a little bit of budgeting with you guys. I'm actually going to put Jess through the budgeting, which is awesome because I'm a saver. She's a spender. And so this will be super fun for us to do.
And my husband will really like you for doing this.
This will be super fun.
Because we're recording this before Black Friday.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And then we're going to actually go into the practical application. So we'll tell you a little bit about budgeting, why it's important, and then we're going to show you how to do it in the practical application.
Perfect.
So, all right, guys, stay tuned. We're going to get to it. Okay, so we're going to talk about transcranial magnetic stimulation, or TMS. And so for the rest of this segment, we're just going to call it TMS. So the first time I started reading about this actually just got FDA approved. It's highly sought after. It's kind of a revolutionary new tool that people are using. But the only thing I could think of was this cartoon called Nine, and it was created by, oh gosh, what's his name? Tim Burton. Yeah. It was created by Tim Burton. So if you haven't seen the movie Nine by Tim Burton, it's fantastic. Well, one of these little puppets.
It's like claymation? No.
It's not claymation. No, they're like these sewn together puppets.
Oh, okay.
And so they're on this
Nightmare
like adventure.
Before Christmas.
Yes.
Okay.
Very similar to like the Nightmare Before Christmas style. It's Tim Burton, Edward Scissorhands, all of that. So dark and brooding. Well, there's these little puppets and they're on this adventure. And one of them is this big, tough puppet. And he goes out, he's supposed to be on guard duty. Okay. So you can tell he's totally like a PFC on guard duty because he goes out there, he's not paying attention. He sets his weapon down and he's sitting down on this little stump.
PFC, for those of you that don't know, is a private first class. And that's a very low ranking person in the military.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Very low ranking person. And so he sits down and he pulls out this magnet, this big horseshoe magnet, and he takes it and he puts it over his head. He's like, zzz, and he's like getting high. He's like, and he hears somebody coming. He puts the magnet down and looks around.
Let's just show our audience what you're
yeah.
Because
okay.
it's way better than your. No, I love your description, and I would like to put your description next to the video.
Yes. So Casey, when you splice this together, put him like right over our shoulder. Him like, zzz.
Yeah.
And so that's what he does. And so that's what it reminded me of, because it's basically using a magnetic field to stimulate different parts of the brain. And in the cartoon, like that's what he's doing, right? Super funny cartoon. That's what it reminded me of. And it is kind of similar. You're not trying to get high, but you're trying to stimulate different parts of your brain with this magnet.
Yeah.
So it reminds me of something a little bit more nefarious, a little bit more intrusive, which was electroshock therapy. Back in like the 1940s, I think they outlawed most of that practice, right?
I believe in the 1940s started it.
Oh, started it in the 1940s. Yeah. It's kind of frowned upon now, right? They used to, like, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe it's just the movies. They used to stick this rod up your nose and electrocute you.
No.
No? Oh, okay.
Is
that just from the movie Saw? Is that?
I don't watch scary movies. I am afraid of them. Really, it's a very invasive procedure that you have to go under anesthesia for. Okay. And so, yeah, when we're comparing the two, from my understanding, there still is that
electroshock therapy.
Yeah. And it's a lot more invasive. You have to go under anesthesia, so more risk involved, and a lot more expensive because hospital bills and things like that.
Oh, anesthesia, it would be.
One thing cool about the TMS, transcranial magnetic stimulation, is it's outpatient. It's about 90 minutes for your first one, and then 60 minutes after that. 6-week program, 5 days a week, and this research shows really good outcome for major depressive disorder, treatment-resistant depression, and so this is a person who's tried multiple antidepressant medications, and so and counseling, and they're just treatment-resistant, post-traumatic stress disorder, and then also other obsessive compulsive disorder, anxiety, and other mood disorders. And so what my understanding, I've never done it, seen it, referred, heard nothing, but they put this.
It's like a cap. It's like a little helmet they put on you, and it's got all these different wires and inductors inside of it. And it creates an EMF, electromagnetic field, but not over the whole brain, just in specific areas that are understimulated. So think of it like you're trying to jumpstart your car, right? You've got to take another power source and connect it to your battery to jumpstart it. It's kind of doing the same thing with this electromagnetic field. It's trying to stimulate that area of your brain that is not being utilized properly or being, underutilized. They're trying to just stimulate it to get those synapses to start firing again, to start on their own. So it's not a treatment that you'd have to do for the rest of your life. It's something that you would go and it would start to stimulate that area of the brain and it would start to work properly. And then as your brain started working on its own, they would have to do it less and less and less until you were good to go.
Well, I think, Aaron, about like our trauma responses, right? And how so many of us combat veterans, the time we were deployed, that's where a lot of our PTSD comes from, is that frontal cortex that's constantly engaged. And so our whole nervous system is in fight or flight for a year, right? And so I would be interested in reading a little bit more research on how this could help PTSD, because sometimes when I have a trauma client and just giving them the psychoeducation behind that frontal cortex is like an aha moment for them, and they can start understanding like when they're triggered, that, hey, my frontal cortex is triggered right now. Let me calm down. Just like different things. Half of the battle comes in just knowing how our trauma responses like handle in our bodies and things like that. And so, this looks like really interesting to me. Yeah,
it was really interesting reading the research. I know there's a couple facilities here locally in the Seattle area that do this kind of work. So if you work at one of those facilities and you want to come on here as one of our guests and tell us more about it, that would be amazing. Or if you've had this experience, you've gone through this, send us a note, let us know what you thought about it. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to learn more about this. This is something that we both hadn't heard of before this. And so we researched it and we really want to know more about it. The other thing that I saw that was really cool is that they're starting to use it for addiction recovery as well.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it would be really interesting to see how all of that works. So if you work in this field, if you have had this experience, or you're a doctor that administers this kind of treatment, we would love to hear from you. Send us a note. Casey will get you the contact info in the show notes. And we'd love to have you come on and tell us more about this, because I think it's fantastic.
And also scary at the same time.
Yes.
Because what are the long-term side effects of buzzing your brain with magnetic fields? I don't know. To me, it also sounds very futuristic. And what if I don't know.
It's like the 5G. Well, if you wear your tinfoil hat and then put this on, will that work? Will it mitigate the risk? Just asking for a friend. All right. Well, let's get into our next segment, which is going to be holiday spending and how it causes stress. Hey, I wonder if they have gift certificates. You could buy one of these for me for Black Friday.
TMS?
Yeah, TMS.
I got some TMS for you. I'm just kidding.
Okay, so holiday spending causing you stress and anxiety. This is a big point of contention, especially in relationships, because typically there is a spender and a saver in the relationship. And so somebody's going to want to spend, somebody's going to want to save. And this holiday season really, really puts that under a microscope and can cause a lot of tension in the relationships. So your time as a therapist, how often does finances come up in the marital relationships couples that you counsel?
That's a really good question, Aaron, because a lot of my clients, especially couples, are, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but they're well off. They're cash paying clients. And so I haven't addressed a ton of financial issues, but I do know that's one of the top 3-5 things people argue about. And I do believe it's also an underlying thing when communication is the surface, or is the underlying, and finances is the surface. So if you're arguing about finances, it's because you're not communicating about the finances properly.
Okay.
In my opinion. But finances is always a point of contention in relationships that need help. Not always, but a lot of the times, yeah.
And we see here in America, we are a very consumer-driven society. We really are. It's like, how much can you buy? America doesn't really produce a lot of things like we used to. We just consume a lot of things. That's why you have things like Amazon that took off like crazy. Temu that recently took off like crazy. How much can you consume? How much can you buy?
Shein.
I don't know what Shein is. Is that a new one?
It's a clothing.
Oh, okay. So there's even a new one that I don't know, but the spender over here sure does.
No, I never bought anything from it.
So this can be a huge problem, because here's kind of the cycle that happens in our economy around this consumer mentality. You start getting into Thanksgiving and people start going to more events. And then right after Thanksgiving, after you spend a meal with your family, being thankful for what you have, right? Yeah. America says, hey, now it's time to go buy more stuff. After you were just spend a whole day being thankful for what you have. Now let's give you this other holiday, Black Friday, right? Because we want you to go and spend a bunch more money the day after. So all of these stores and all of these places and all of these manufacturers, everybody, they want to give you a sale right after Thanksgiving. So most people, it used to be like this. It's calmed down a little bit, but they would have Thanksgiving dinner and they'd be out the door by 6 p.m. heading to go stand in line at Target so they can get a deal on a big screen TV. They can be one of the first people. They'd be camping out. Yeah. Okay. And I just thought, how crazy is this? I never got involved in this whole Black Friday shopping ever. I just thought it was absolutely nuts, but people really loved it. Why? I really don't understand. I think it's a scarcity mindset that drives them to want to be there and wait in line for 10 hours.
Well, I've heard of some people that it's a great tradition for them and certain family members. They look forward to it every year. It's bonding with their mom and stuff like that. I don't think it's all terrible coming from the spender.
I can see I touched a nerve over here.
No. I have never been the stand in line person, or really like go way out of my budget.
Yeah, people love this Black Friday. I don't understand, because here's what happens. You overspend on Black Friday, and then that's not enough. People will continue to buy all the way up until Christmas Eve.
Because there's always new sales.
That's right.
So they're spending to save.
Spending to save. That's like an oxymoron. Spending to save. Uh-huh. Is that like girl math? I just learned girl math. We'll talk about girl math another time. So here's what they do though. They spend all this money on Christmas, and then New Year's comes, and then you kind of have this holiday hangover, because now first week of January, all these bills come due. All your credit cards come due, rent comes due, lights come due, car payment comes due. And now you've just got this burden of like, oh my gosh, how much money did I spend? I have all these extra bills now. I bought a new car, but then my insurance went up, and then I had to go and get new rims and tires, or had to go do this or that. So all these
because they had
bills.
a Black Friday deal at Les Schwab.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. And so now you have all these extra bills that you didn't have before. Your income hasn't increased. And so you just kind of have this holiday hangover, these blues, and it can lead to depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
And then people are just waiting like, oh, I have to get my taxes done because I want to get my tax return, right? Because then I can pay off these bills, but then they don't. They use that tax return to buy something else. And so we're going to talk today about how do we help you avoid that? How do we help you make good financial decisions? And we're talking about this big concept of saving money and, reducing debt, but we're going to break it down to a really small, finite piece that you can use right now today when we get into the practical application just around the holidays. So we'll talk about this big piece of spending when it comes to budgeting and goal setting, and then we'll break it back down to just the holidays for you guys.
Perfect.
All right. So tool for the toolbox is going to be creating a budget. And so Jess is going to talk a little bit about what a budget looks like kind of on this big scale. And then we'll break it down to just a holiday budget when it talks about gift giving and what you're going to spend on that. So tell us a little bit about budgeting, and actually tell us how you first started to learn how to budget.
Perfect. I actually learned how to budget for the first time through Financial Peace University through our church, and it changed our lives. I
went through that same thing with Casey, actually. I went through Financial Peace.
I went through it with Casey as well. Billy and I did. And it was amazing. But really what it does is, how do I explain it all? Is it somebody like me who was a free spirit, I don't like being put into a box, my finances, my budget, my time, my trap, nothing, okay? I'm a hippie at the fullest. Like, I just want to go where the wind takes me kind of girl. Okay. And then I became an adult and I had bills. And so the Financial Peace University, we'll give you a link for that as well, possibly.
Yeah.
If you guys want to learn that. But in general, if I can scrunch this budgeting concept down for you, is it talks about an envelope system. And what it does is it brings you back to having cash in hand. Because when I'm buying something with cash, there's a little bit more of an emotional tie than giving a credit card. And then also when I'm buying things with cash, I'm not defaulting on my bank account. We've all been there where the card declines. Like, it's probably been 10 years since my cards declined, but there is still sometimes I'm like, oh, is it going to go through?
Oh, yeah. You feel that hesitation?
Yeah. Kind of like when I got caught stealing when I was 16 at Mervyn's.
Mervyn's?
Yeah. Sometimes when I go through the, the beepers.
You're a criminal? Oh my gosh.
I was banned from the Federal Way Mall for a year when I was 16. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. So we're gonna have to say that I want to hear that story in another episode. That's great.
Another episode. And so in a nutshell, you have different budgets, right? You have your gas budget, you have your food budget, you have your eating out budget, you have your gift budget, you have your clothing budget. So everything that you can take cash out and put it in an envelope system, this was so helpful for me because I wasn't denying myself a gift budget.
Right.
I wasn't telling myself I can't get people gifts. I just had $50 to get gifts, right? And I didn't justify opening up a TJ Maxx credit card to buy more gifts. If I wanted to buy somebody a gift, I would write it down and choose which month I was going to buy that person a gift. If it was the same month as somebody's birthday, then it would have to be a different month. And so I'm not completely denying myself my love language and what I love to do. It's just a little bit more of a parameter. Same thing with eating out. People just, myself included, I'm preaching to the choir. We don't like being put in a box of the things we enjoy. And so when you say the word budgeting, it's like, oh, no. Really what this is allowing you to do the things you love just within moderation and within your means. And because we are so inundated with do what feels good when you want to do it type mentality as Americans, we get rushed up into that, just like the holidays.
That's right.
Yeah. So in my financial budget, it is so every single thing down to my $6 Pandora subscription I write down, and I write down which days certain bills come out so I can know, okay, I got to transfer money this day. And every once in a while I have to go back to my envelope system because I've gotten a little out of control. And so that's and it's really good to teach our kids this young. So that's my experience with budgeting.
So the budgeting is great. And I run several businesses. We're very successful in business. And so when I went through this, Casey had talked to me about it and we'd had a conversation. I was like, I don't know if I really need this, but I think it'd be great so my wife and I can kind of get on the same page when it comes to our finances. Honestly, I didn't think I was going to learn anything. Like I do budgets for, 2 different companies and didn't think I would learn anything. I was completely wrong. I learned so much. And what I found, because I always thought to have some debt is good. And that's what they literally train you in America is, debt's good because our whole credit system revolves around the idea of debt. Because if you have no debt like me now, your credit score goes way down. I don't know if you guys realize that, but if you're not using credit, then you don't get a good credit score. It goes down. And so I always thought, a little bit of debt is good. But that's just how they keep you in that cycle. And it says that the borrower, it says that the borrower is slave to the debtor, to the lender, right? Yeah. So the borrower is slave to the lender. And that's exactly what happens because you're not actually working for your money. You're working to pay back somebody who lent you money. Mm-hmm. So your money is going to them, not to the things that you want, but to somebody else or some entity or some bank. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, wow, that really hit me. I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to have good cash flow and I want to be able to have more control over my life. And so for me, that's what it taught me is that when I control this budget and I control this debt, I have more control over my life. And I have a tremendous amount of financial freedom now because I don't have a mortgage payment that's hanging over my head, because I don't have car payments. And how did I get there is I drove a 2005 Dodge pickup truck with a wrecked title for a decade because I didn't want a car payment. I saved up that money until I could pay cash for a car. Mm-hmm. Delayed gratification, which is what you alluded to earlier about everybody wants things right now. Mm-hmm. I want to live my best life right now. The law of sacrifice, back to John Maxwell's 15 laws of growth, the law of sacrifice is what are you willing to give up right now today to get that long-term goal? And so that's one thing that I will add. I said all of that to get to this point. What is the goal that you have that you're working toward with all of this budgeting? If you're just budgeting to budget, you're going to fail because you need to have a goal. You need to set a goal. Like, what is it that I want? I want to be out of debt. I want to own my home free and clear. I want to go on this vacation. I want to buy this new vehicle. I want to start this business. Whatever that goal is that you have in mind, that's the forefront. That's the reason you're working toward with this budget. So my wife and I do this. We have something that we want to purchase, and it's a big purchase. And so we deny ourselves the little things, the eating out, or we deny ourselves going on vacation or taking a trip to go see my family. We deny ourselves that right now in the short term because we have this much bigger goal. And so for us, we even have a code word. We say over 5,000. And I'm not going to tell you what that means, but that's what we have. So anytime I'm like, I'd really like to get this new piece of camera equipment. My wife is like, over 5,000? I'm like, dang it. Okay, I don't need it. I want it, but I don't actually need it. And so that's what it does. It makes me register in my brain, do I need this or do I want this? And if I need it, then I got to buy it. But if I just want it, then I'm going to delay that until I reach this much bigger goal. But if you don't have that much bigger goal in mind, it's going to be really hard to deny yourself that little thing that you want.
And in our family, it's over 50.
You want to live to be over 50? Was that yesterday? Sorry.
Okay. I'm going to put lactate in your coffee.
Yeah, we're all going to pay the price on that.
After our show.
So having that goal in mind, that's super, super important as you start this budgeting process. And if you've never done budgeting before and it's super scary, we're going to break it down and something you can do right now in this holiday season that's super small that you can just try out and see what you think. See how it goes for you. And if you're like, hey, I can do this. This wasn't so bad. Then we'll give you some resources to where you can get into this financial piece that we've done before, get into one of these classes and do this for real and start setting yourself up for some financial freedom here in the near future.
Aaron, when you said that goal piece, I'm reflecting back very quickly on all the times I've had to go back to the envelope system. And it's always when there's been no goal and I'm just budgeting to budget.
Oh, wow.
That's a really important piece that I have forgotten about. So I would like to reset my goals so that I have a reason to budget.
Well, that leads us right into our next segment. Actually, perfectly segued. Let's get into doing a holiday budget around gift giving. All right, Jess, so let's talk about budgeting. We're just going to do really simple holiday budget. But before we get into that, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. If you could really quickly tell me, what is it about? Well, actually, let's ask this first. What is your goal for budgeting? Why do you want to budget this holiday season? What's your goal?
Honestly, this holiday season, my goal is to, people might hate on me for this, but my goal is to honor my husband.
Okay.
In my spending.
Honor your husband. And so what does that look like? Let's define that into something that's attainable. What does honor your husband look like?
It's just Christmas. He's been so good the last couple of years at kind of letting me have Christmas because he knows how much it means to me. And deep down, I know that I think it is hard for him. He sees me the day of because I adopt other kids that I buy for. And so he gets a ton of joy from it as well. And so over the years, he has let me kind of take on the holiday budget. And I love and appreciate that about him. And I can only assume there's a certain amount of dismissed he feels because over the years he has made comments or jokes that are underlying real feelings that, okay, what are we going to do this Christmas and what kind of budget are we looking at? And I would really love this holiday season to make him more priority, his feelings and his thoughts and his goals in our holiday Christmas budget.
Okay, perfect. Great answer. So what is it about gift giving that is so important to you? You said it was your love language earlier. Yeah. So maybe tell me a little bit about why giving gifts is so important.
You know, I struggled with this for many years because I thought gift giving was materialistic and I didn't want to associate with that as a love language until I just had to give over to it because I love buying. I'll be out somewhere and I'll think of 3 different people while I'm out. Oh, this person would love that. Oh, I think I got you an idea journal. I was literally at Ross and I was going through the journals because I buy journals for my clients. And I was like, oh my gosh, Aaron would love this because he has so many ideas and he likes to draw. And I, so it was like $6, but it brought me so much joy to be like, hey, I saw this. I thought of you. Here you go. It's not like, it's not a selfless thing. I get a lot more joy out of giving people gifts than they probably get receiving them. And so really it's just fulfilling to me. Yeah.
Interesting. So what would it look like to give a gift if you didn't have a physical purchase? How could you give a gift that didn't cost any money? What would that look like? When you thought of somebody and you saw a gift, but you didn't actually purchase it, how else could you give a gift to that person that day?
Well, in the past, I have taken a picture of it and sent it to the person and say, I don't have a budget for this right now, but I want you to know I'm out. And if I did have a budget for it, I would have gotten you this.
I wonder if you could just send them an encouraging message of how much you appreciate them.
Yeah.
Because I tell you what, that means a lot to me. When I just get a random message from somebody throughout the day, it tells me how I impacted their life. I was like, ooh, that means more to me than any material thing that I could get. I don't know about other people, but for me, that's how I feel about it.
Well, and even if I can tie that gift giving mentality into that encouraging gift. Hey, I'm out. I saw this. I thought of you. So I wanted to let you know how much I appreciate you. And this is why.
Yeah, it made me think of you. And
yeah,
I wonder if that would fulfill that same thing for you.
Yeah, I think it would.
It'd be interesting to find out.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's something you could practice this holiday season.
Sure.
Instead of the impulse buy.
Sure.
All right. So when we talk about, now we've talked about the goal.
Okay.
We've talked about why you enjoy gift giving. And we've actually set up something that could be an alternative for you. Let's talk about actual budgeting. So this doesn't have to be real numbers. We're just going to make these up. But what would be ideal that you think would honor your husband when it came to spending for this holiday season? How much, what would that look like for spending for, let's just talk about gifts. Let's not talk about like all of the other parties and all of the other events that have to be attended and all of that. Let's just talk about one thing, which is gifts. What would be a reasonable budget that you could set for yourself, dollar amount, that would still honor your husband, but make you feel like you we're able to provide gifts?
In this season of our lives, opening up the barbershop, me still getting my business underway, a number off the top of my head would be $500.
$500. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. And these are just hypothetical. I'm putting her on the spot here, so she hasn't had time to really like think about this. So we're just going to go off of the 500. So who are like the top 5 people that you would get gifts for?
My husband, Liberty, Autumn,
Okay.
and my dogs. No, I'm kidding. I don't buy them gifts. I'm totally kidding.
Okay. So Liberty, Autumn, Billy, and then your parents. Is that what you said? You said
No.
top 5. I'm sorry. So you said Liberty, Autumn, Billy, and who else?
So hard. There's
Let's just
so
make
many
up 2 names.
people.
Let's just say mom and dad.
Okay.
Let's just say that for
Yeah, I do. Yes, my mom and dad for sure.
Perfect. Okay. So those are the top 5 people that you want to give gifts for. So knowing that, what kind of budget would you have for each one of those?
$100 each.
$100 each. Okay.
But my parents don't need that much.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll do $100 for Liberty, $100 for Autumn, $100 for Billy, and then how much for mom? These are just hypothetical.
Let's do 100 for each.
Okay. Well, let's
do 50 for
let's
each.
do 50 for each.
Okay.
Perfect. Because I was going to lead you down to what can we reduce this
Okay.
by $10 so now you have an extra budget.
Got it.
for that individual.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Right?
Okay.
So we've already done that. We've done 50 and 50. So
You're
now
good
you
at
have
this.
an extra person. So we've already taken and we found, so that's $400. So you have an extra $100 here for kind of those impulse gifts.
Yeah.
So you can still meet that need that you have of, oh, I thought of this person, I want to get this thing.
Yeah.
But we put it in a box, a
Yeah.
parameter around it. So we know that Liberty is going to be $100, Autumn's going to be $100, Billy's going to be $100, and then mom and dad are going to be $50 respectively. And so what kind of items could you get for $100 for Liberty? How many items do you think you could get?
2 or 3.
2 or 3, right? Okay. And the same thing for Autumn, probably? What about Billy?
1.
1, right? And then mom and dad?
1.
1 each. Okay. So now when you're out shopping, you know that you have a budget of $100. And when you see something for Liberty, you already have this budget laid out. And you can see that I've already bought 2 gifts for Liberty. And it's $30 a piece. So I have $60. So I have $40 left that I can spend on her. So the next item that I see that fits that $40, I can make a purchase now. Because you've already set yourself up for success by having this structure built out.
This is really good.
And what we've also done is we've taken this, because if you had just put 100 on each one of these,
I would be out.
Well, yeah, you'd be out. You wouldn't be able to do any of those impulse buys that you enjoy. But since you've shaved some of the budget off, and you could even do more of this, where you could take $10 from each of these and have another one. So now you have this extra one because you said you love to adopt people for Christmas. So you can't adopt everybody. But if there was one kid that you were like, I really like this kid, you know, they're great, I'd love to do something for them. Now you have that in your budget. You still get to honor your husband with your budget. You get the gifts for the people that are the most important to you. And then you have this extra that you can do now for that little bit of impulse, that little bit of extra that you enjoy doing to bring you that joy.
Yeah.
So looking at this budget and this little exercise that we went through super, super quick, how do you feel now about budgeting for the holidays?
It is going to be so different this year. So I am a little apprehensive and encouraged at the same time that it doesn't have to look like you can't buy any presents, you know, but having some parameters around how much I spend so that maybe each time I go shopping for Christmas gifts, I have, you know, my envelopes of what I've budgeted, and that way
person,
I can weigh, oh, Liberty would really like this, but or would, you know, like I just have to choose my gifts wisely instead of just, oh, she'd like this and this and this. And I love when they open presents Christmas morning, and like they are still going to open a Christmas present. And Christmas morning. And I'm huge advocate about not making Christmas about the gifts, but about the reason for the season. And so I think it's just all around, I think it would be a really good example for my kids, vote of confidence for my husband. And yeah, thinking about this budget and not denying me my love language of gifts while, just keeping some barriers around it, I think is going to be really helpful.
And so when it comes to most things, you have quantity or quality.
Mm-hmm.
So with the reduction of quantity, then the quality will go up because you're going to be a lot more thoughtful about your spending, and you're going to buy things that you're going to think a little bit more about. Yeah. And you're going to have to really consider who the person is that's getting the gift and what they would really appreciate, what would be meaningful to them. Yeah. I think that'd be a great exercise, actually. Mm-hmm. So this is a big thing to do, right? Yeah. And it is going to be difficult. What things have you done in the past that were big goals like this? And what did you learn from that you could take into this situation to help you be successful here? Yeah,
a couple years ago when we were, I did a lot of homemade gifts. Okay. And I did a lot of research on what are going to be good homemade gifts, not just cheesy homemade gifts. So one year I made a whole bunch of homemade lotions, and I got, cute jars at Value Village and different thrift stores. I made the homemade lotion and I gave it to the ladies that I wanted to gift something for. And so even if that's that extra $100 budget of buying all the things to do some homemade gifts, it would be a good idea for me to do.
That could be a good bonding experience for you and your girls too. Yeah. So it would be a win-win there.
Yeah. And that was the year that I did homemade gifts for my girls. So I made Liberty a Lego table and it cost less than $100. And I made Autumn a kitchen play set out of an old TV stand. And that definitely cost under $100. So there's a lot of things for me to mull over after our session.
When you've created these gifts, these homemade gifts, but what are some other big goals that you've done? Like with getting your education and doing things like that. What helped you be successful in those situations where you had this big goal that you were apprehensive about?
Trusting God.
Trusting God, yeah. So have you ever had an accountability partner for these goals?
Oh, yeah. Do
you think that might be helpful with this?
Yeah. Scary, but helpful. Yes.
Who do you think would be a best accountability partner?
My husband.
Right? Yeah. Because you said you wanted to honor your husband. Mm-hmm. So not just doing it, but making him part of the process.
Yes. Yeah.
Would that be helpful?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, that's what the budget looks like, you guys. And so really down and dirty, super quick. We did that in just a couple minutes. Mm-hmm. How we did that. You guys can take that and bring it into your own life. We're going to have a worksheet for you that we created that can help you do this, just gift giving, very small budget that you can check out. Try it out this season. Let us know what you think of it. Did you have success, failure? Number one thing I would say, if you want this to be a success, have an accountability partner. Mm-hmm. Have an accountability for any goal that you want to hit. Get an accountability partner. The best thing you can do to guarantee success, because they're going to hold you accountable to the goals that you set. Yeah. And I love that you said you wanted to honor your husband and you're going to have him be your accountability partner because number one, I'm going to be able to check in on it. And number two, it just really bookends the whole budget experience because your whole goal was to honor your husband in your spending, and then you're going to make him part of the process. I think it's beautiful. So thank you for sharing that with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. So as always, guys, we look to educate, empower, and encourage you on your mental health journey. So for the Mental Health Janitors, I'm Sgt Q.
I'm Doc Jess, and have a great day.
And we're out.
And we're out.